Okay, we'll move from politics to love, L-O-V-E with a capital L, and flirtation and finding the woman of your dreams. Just how difficult is it? Well, first of all, we spoke to a guy called Daniel Vercetti, and I said to him, with a name like Vercetti, that in itself would be a help.
Just it adds a little smoothness to the situation, you know.
Yeah, but in terms of nationalities, I mean, how do Irishmen compare, say, to the French or to the Italians, who are seen to be somewhat more romantic?
Yeah, what's really interesting is that, you know, I've been fortunate to kind of travel around the world and teach a variety of different men, and what I've found what is universal is that men everywhere are just searching for, you know, choice and fulfillment in their relationships with amazing quality women, and it doesn't matter where you go, you still find that same base kind of need and desire. And that's one of the things that we teach at Love Systems, is that it doesn't matter where you are in the world, to become an attractive man and to meet the type of woman that you want to meet. It's actually a learnable skill.
I mean, I've heard women say that the voice of, say, David Ginola would impress you with his voice, and Gino in the Jungle recently, and I'm a Celebrity. But how can an Irishman compete with that?
Well, what I found is that it's not really about competing in that respect. There are certain things, and I'm a trained and professional actor, and one of the things that I teach at Love Systems is voice tonality and body language, and we call it our kind of geek name is subcommunications. The things that people notice about you that without you even opening your mouth, basically, you know, and again, these are things that can be developed. It just takes people to actually realize that it's something that you can be worked on, you know. Yeah. And voice tonality, voice training, that kind of stuff. Again, those are things that I actually teach people.
Okay, what are the common mistakes amongst men then?
Okay, well, one of the things that, for instance, I was teaching over in Dublin a few weeks back, and I was with a guy, Paul, and he was 30 years old. He'd already been married and divorced, and he was witty and charming, all right, but I found that out within the first 5 minutes of actually being with him. Now, the only thing was when as soon as he saw a beautiful woman, he would freeze up and stop being that witty and charming guy that he was when he was just around me and comfortable with the people, you know, in his social circle. And so we went out and we went to a wine bar, and I told him, you know, it's really important that you express those attractive parts of your personality. So we went out, we did a few approaches, and he went up to a group of women, and he just expressed himself. You know, I think he said something like, "Are you guys shy?" And they were like, "What?" And he said, "Well, you know, I've been standing there with my mate for about 30 seconds, and none of you have come and spoken to us, so I'm just assuming that you're shy." And they went with the joke, and he was able to just kind of go in and just be the witty and charming guy that he actually was. And later on, he got a number of the girl that he was actually attracted to, and that, you know, that was that. But one of the things that a lot of guys do is they feel that they have to become someone else and change, and you know, and it's necessary to understand that that is not the case. Learn how to express your personality, and that's one of the things that we always teach at Love Systems as well.
So what's your opinion of Irishmen then in general in terms of how they approach relationships?
Well, from the guys that I've met, I can't give a cross section on the whole Irish, every Irish guy, but from the lads that I've met, they're very, very charming and have that sense of fun, but it's just about expressing it. It just comes down to literally being able to communicate that when you meet a woman for the first time.
What's the worst case you've ever heard of a fella trying to date a girl? What's the worst thing you've seen or heard a fella do?
Well, you can see some horrific things in the bars and clubs. It's hilarious to kind of sit down, and I love observing and just kind of people watching. And,
like what, for example?
Well, the probably one of the most hazardous things that I see men doing is having, you know, due to fear of the actual approach or fear of rejection, getting absolutely wasted before approaching, and that normally leads to disaster, and just kind of building up the kind of Dutch courage before actually going in and approaching, and as you've probably seen guys in clubs and they can hardly stand up, but they've had to do that in order to build up the courage to go and meet to meet a woman that they're interested in. Generally a bad thing.
What about success stories?
Pardon?
Have you any examples of success stories?
Yeah, I was working with a client called Ravi in New York, and he was such an adorable guy. And again, it comes down to one of the things that I always teach my students is about emotional truth and honesty and openness. And when it comes to seeing someone who catches your eye, who you really want to actually meet, and being able to express yourself and go and meet that person. So we were working on what we call a direct opener. We're going direct is where you see someone, you express exactly what you're feeling and what you're thinking. And that was one of the things that I was working with Ravi, and he saw this just absolutely stunning woman just walking past, and he stopped her and he said, "You look absolutely adorable, and I would have been kicking myself if I didn't come and meet you." And she was flattered and blown away by it, and they got talking and agreed to meet up. And he emailed me the other day, and he's in a relationship with her now, and it's going fantastically well. But it's those kind of things that when I hear it, it just makes my job very satisfying. Very, very satisfying, and being able to help people like that.
And feedback you've received from women, what is it?
Well, this is the interesting thing, actually, because I've got a lot of my female friends who I talk about dating regularly with, and they're generally disappointed by the way that most men approach them when they're out, whether it is the drunken guy who's knocked back a number of pints in order to gain the courage, or the kind of cocky, arrogant guy who is he's got the balls to go and approach him, but he does it in a way that doesn't make them feel very